Hey there, it's Shauna. Welcome to your weekly astrology report for May 13th. This week I've titled You Are Powerful. We have some aspects involving Pluto and some other exciting things happening this week, so I'm excited to share the astrology with this week. And then, as always, I have 3 tips to make the most out of this week. So first thing that's happening is the Sun and Mercury will trine Pluto. Mercury is also going to be making aspects to Saturn and Neptune as well. And so the way that I see this is there's a lot of therapeutic conversations that may be happening, and ideas that are cathartic, ideas that are healing, and ideas and thoughts that also may bring up some shadow material or some things that are difficult to talk about. And this is because the Sun is the symbol of what we're aware of consciously. And then Mercury is thought process, communication, language. And when these two come into contact with Pluto, Pluto is about unearthing something that has been hidden. And so it might even be conversations or information that maybe you were aware of, but that was for some reason set aside or somehow secret or secretive. So that is a big part of this week. It is a trine. So a trine is when things flow easily. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily pleasant or enjoyable. It just means that there's a flow here. And so though it is Pluto, and Pluto can show where there is an opportunity for something to really be worked through that can be deep and intense, it can also be cathartic and can be very healing as well. Second thing that's happening this week is the full moon in the sign of Scorpio. This is happening Saturday the 18th at 2:11 p.m. Pacific time. It's at 27 degrees of Scorpio. And so Scorpio is about intense power. Scorpio and Pluto have a certain similarity in their themes, where Scorpio is about getting to the bottom of something. It's about really digging deep and really feeling very deeply when the moon is involved in the sign of Scorpio. So full moons illuminate. They show a sense of culmination, where things have been brought to their full potential. It's a time of celebration. And with this being in the sign of Scorpio, it may be the full potential of power or opportunities for power, the full potential of resilience. So though Scorpio can be an intensely feeling sign, it can also be a feeling of authority and power and inner resilience. The other thing that's happening this week is Venus will conjunct Uranus. And so this is a very different feeling from the other aspects that I've just spoke about. Venus is relationships, love, money, beauty, sex. The arts are all Venusian symbols. And when Venus comes into contact with Uranus, especially a conjunction, there is an awakening of sexuality. There is an awakening of relationships. Uranus can show where things are shook up a little bit, where things are invigorated, enlivened, and where there's a feeling of wanting to change. And keywords also for Uranus are liberation, revolution. And so I see this as being where something around your relationships, the way that you connect with people in your life, the way that you connect in relationship in general, there's something here where it's there might be a little bit of a desire for more excitement, a desire to do something differently. If anything, it's a very creative time. Venus-Uranus is inherently creative, spontaneous, and there's a certain element of novelty as well here. This is all happening in the sign of Taurus. So for people that have planets in the fixed signs, I think this is more important. So if you have your rising, midheaven, or any personal planets in fixed signs, which are Taurus, Scorpio, and then Leo and Aquarius. This is going to be more important for you. And then, of course, too, I want to note you can track where you have Scorpio in your chart to see where that full moon is landing and which part of your chart is being invigorated with new light, new consciousness, new awareness. And when I say consciousness, I mean you are becoming aware of things that maybe you were not aware of previously, or you're feeling things that more intensely than you normally would versus month to month, year to year, etc. So I have 3 tips for you to make the most out of this week. Tip number 1 is to say what you mean what you say. And this is Pluto talk. This is something that a Plutonian person would say, or they wouldn't even say it, they would just do it and be it. So this is super important when we have Pluto involved, and especially because we have the Sun and Mercury to Pluto, because this is highly communicative energy. And so it's important to be authentic when Pluto is around. As you know, I mean, I think caveat, I think that word is thrown around a lot in the spiritual community. And when I say be authentic, I don't mean just shit all your words on everyone, excuse my language, but don't just like verbal diarrhea everything. It means be honest as much as you feel is appropriate for the context of that situation. And I think with Pluto moments, it's important to like notice where there are opportunities for you to be honest, and where maybe it feels a little bit scary to be honest because it means being vulnerable or going out on a limb a little bit, but it's still appropriate. So I want you to play with that a little bit, and being authentic as much as you can this week, when especially when it feels like there's a little bit of an edge or a little bit of a boundary in putting yourself out there, so to speak. So that's tip number 1. Say what you mean what you say. Tip number 2, give space to your shadow this week. So this is also Pluto material. It's also Scorpio material. So this means when you are feeling shadowy type of emotions, or when you're feeling, this is, oh my gosh, this is huge for any week, but especially this week. When you're feeling something that you don't want to feel, I want you to do the best that you can to let it be okay for you to feel that way. I think that there's so much suffering that comes from judgment about not feeling happy and not feeling positive. If you don't feel happy and positive, allow that to be the way that it is, because that is the way that it needs to be for you right now. And I promise you, it will not be that way forever. Because our emotions, it's impossible for something to stay just like monotonely emotional for forever. It's impossible for an emotion to stay one way. So give space for your shadow this week. Tip number 3, do something you love. So this balances out that more intense energy. Do something that you love is Venus, Uranus. Venus is what we're attracted to, what we're allured to. And there's an excitement here around art and beauty, sensuality, sexuality, relationships. And so even though there is that full moon, which may show a time of feeling very intense, I want you to do something that you love, something that you value, Venus. So those are your tips. I will pull a card for us. And so if you have a specific question, you can hold that in your awareness. And if not, this can just be a general theme for the week for you. Interesting. Okay. Oh, all right. So I pulled the Chariot. So this card is about action. It means go. But it means go forward with a plan. Make sure that you are very clear about your destination. And it is not time to like sit around, to dilly-dally. It is like time to go and move forward. And it's very important that that you're clear about your mission or clear about your destination or your purpose. So that's what this card is about. I'm curious what you see when you look at this card. What other messages are there for you? And that is your astrology report for the week. I hope that you enjoyed it. And I'm really excited to share with you that I'm now offering counseling sessions on Sundays, online counseling sessions. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you are looking for a little bit of extra self-care in your week or support working through a challenging time, let me know. You can email me at shaunamcgrath@gmail.com. And if you are just like want to learn more about astrology, you can also connect with me on Patreon. I have some other great resources for you there as well. And of course, I'm on Instagram under Neo-Feminine Astrology. Wishing you a wonderful week, sending super lots of love on this full moon week, and I'll talk to you soon. Namaste.